Hey, this is JP with Central Idaho Mountain Weather. It is August 22nd, 2024, giving you Wapiti fire update. So, since yesterday morning, I kind of gave a history of the fire. Go check it out if you haven't. Give you a recap from start to finish and what's going on with that. The fire has grown to 17,000 acres, 17,500 acres. So it was about 3,500 acres in the last 24 hours or so. It's still only 10% contained. On Tuesday, it grew over 8,000 acres. So not as much growth yesterday, probably due to the low amount of winds. Wind gusts only got up to 16 mile per hour gusts. This is Canyon Creek, nearby weather station. And they commenced fire operations or continued fire operations on the northwest corner of the fire. So that is like where it meets the Canyon Creek fire scar. Fire scar is just where a previously burned area is. So they tried to do some firing operations here. That means burning any down logs, anything that's going to be fuel. They'll burn that ahead of time. So by the time the fire gets to it, it has no fuel to go to. So they did that ahead of the fire so they can protect Highway 21 there. And then also have this road that they're going to use to buffer the west side of the fire here. We've had growth on all sides of the fire. Kind of replay what this looks like in the last 24 hours. So most growth was over where they're burning, this northern quadrant, the northeast quadrant heading towards Stanley Lake, and then on the south side here. So lots of, not tons of fire activity, but still burning a lot of area. All right, shifting up towards Stanley Lake here. The fire currently has hot spots as far north as the North Hanson Lake here. And it's only been burning on the side here. Not really quite sure why it hasn't hopped across here yet, but we're going to have south winds today, so that should kind of keep it on that side. They did mobilize 2 hand crews, heavy equipment, and engines over to Stanley Lake, so they must be working on something here. There's no information on that in the plan. Some big news is we are moving from a Type 5 or Team 5 to a Type 1 team coming in from Rocky Mountain Team 1's coming in. So what's that mean? When the fire turns more complex, so we're looking at two different national forests. The fire has basically all around this has different starts. They need to pull in a different team that has more experience handling these bigger incidents. So they're going to be able to have more resources, so that's good for us. More personnel is going to be pulled into this fire as it's become bigger than what it was when the Team 5 was on it. It was just this one area, so it was a little bit, I don't want to say easier to contain or manage, but it was just a little bit less moving parts. Now we have different forest services going on, different counties. There's a lot more moving parts, so they just have to upgrade to that Type 1 team coming in. And they're going to come in on Sunday at 6 a.m. Unfortunately, that's going to be after the weather we have on Friday, so we'll kind of just have to buckle down and see what the current crew can do. All right, going back to like areas of concern. Obviously, a lot of people are starting to get concerned about Stanley Lake, Grand Jean area. The fires, they're still providing protection around the Sawtooth Lodge and other homes in here, mopping up hot spots, but it's starting to, from what I believe, it's starting to move a little bit from this area out to the outskirts. So kind of worried about the fire moving over to the west here towards the Hanging Valley, which I'm pretty sure been asked to evacuate at this point. So they're worried about that. And then also there was a town meeting up in Stanley yesterday. They didn't have a video on it, so I'm not really sure what happened. But I'm sure they're worried about this fire heading up towards Stanley Lake. Let's look at, oh yeah, so we are kind of have some mixed information coming in, but this is coming from the Custer County Sheriff. If you live in the Stanley area or Lowman area, Grand Jean, if you haven't signed up for the Code Red system, sign up for this. Here's where you can get set up for it. You can text Custer to 99411 to sign up for these alerts. This is going to tell you when you have to be evacuating. So Custer County reported that we are in the ready stage for this one zone here. See if I can, might not be the best quality here, so let me see. I don't know exactly what we call this area here, but this is Stanley Lake here, so the entrance is over here. You can kind of put two and two together, hopefully, and that goes down towards Iron Creek here. That whole zone is in notification zone 1, so that's in the ready stage right now. So that means start moving livestock, getting a plan together for if this fire continues down here. One thing I wanted to show you on Google Earth. So this is an old IR map. It hasn't been updated. This is looking up the drainage that feeds into Stanley Lake here. It's burned up currently into the Hanson. It hasn't burned too much into the lakes. It's burned up to the lakes because, as you can see, a lot of this is alpine area that's just rock and doesn't have any fuel. But it has burned up to this point here. There's some hot spots in here, so I'm imagining it can go up and over this hillside into all this green area here. It can continue down the side here of this valley. Once you enter the Stanley Lake area, this is pretty marshy in here, so probably not going to head towards the lake. There is a chance it could head this way, but the winds are out of the south-southeast today, so I think it's probably going to be staying on the western side of the drainage here. Yeah, and that's kind of it. Talk about weather last. So the winds are going to be out of the south-southeast today. They are going to pick up in that zone to about 25 miles per hour. And then Friday is the big day for weather for the area, and with fire, we're going to get really gusty winds coming in here from the south. We got an area of upper level low pressure coming in, bringing in weather. Going to have a cold front coming through here. It is looking fairly dry at this point. I'm not seeing too many thunderstorms in this exact location, but you can see the color, it starts getting into the deeper blues. These are in knots down below, so you can roughly add 3 to 5 on top of that number, and you have miles per hour. So we're really looking at maybe gusts up to 40, and this is at 10,000 feet, so maybe a little bit less where the fire is going to be. So that's the latest update I have. Should have mentioned this earlier, but the Stanley Lake complex is going to be closed. Let me find that again. Yeah, so Stanley Lake area here is going to be closed. I imagine it's closed at the highway. I did see that they were going to be closing Iron Creek Trailhead, so that leads up to Sawtooth Lake and over to Williams area. So Iron Creek is going to be closed, and we'll just see what happens with the fire.